Lastly, sir, we have an executive order on disparate impact theory. This is a theory that underlies a lot of the modern DEI and CRT-driven diversity culture. The basic idea here is instructing your departments and agencies to no longer rely on disparate impact theory as they're regulating, as they're issuing guidance, as they're making rules. We want to focus on results. We want to focus on actual fairness. We want to focus on merit, not things like disparate impact theory and the whole sort of diversity, equity, and inclusion cult.
It's getting out of that, huh?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, he seems to have total command. I don't think this stuff plays well with anyone. Again, I don't want to overstate the case here, right? Like, we're a very polarized country. Trump just won an election that, by all rights, I think it was preposterous he won, but he won. There's enduring popularity among his base.
Watching MAGA Republicans getting booed at their own town halls has been one of the few things that's kept me sane and honestly brought me any joy during Trump's presidency. But tonight, things got even better. It wasn't just another MAGA Republican on the receiving end of boos and jeers. This time, it was Donald Trump himself. As expected, the crowd's anger sent him into a complete meltdown, and he started lashing out at the protesters, even attacking the very agenda he's pushing. Trust me, we're going to break it all down. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way, and it really does mean a lot to me. Now, before we are able to get into Donald Trump's freakout, of course, we have to start with the question and boos that led to that freakout. And we can see him at Mike Lawler's town hall right here.
That are going to make everything more expensive for us, kidnapping and deporting 2-year-olds who have cancer and sending them off. So my question to you, none of this is helping us. We're getting hurt. We in the community are being harmed by this. What are you doing to stand in opposition to this administration, and what specifically are you doing that warrants the label moderate?
So again, my record speaks for itself. I have been rated the 4th most bipartisan for a reason, which is a very simple fact, that unlike many of my colleagues, I actually do work across the aisle. I actually do sit down with my colleagues. There's not a single local elected official who can honestly say that I have not sat down with them and worked with them regardless of their party. There's not a single one of my Democratic colleagues in Congress who could say that I don't do that. When it comes to folks, if you want me to answer the questions, let the question be asked, and then listen to the answer. If you're just going to yell back and forth, the time is going to run pretty quick. So folks, when it comes to the economy, okay, we have an affordability crisis. This crisis didn't just start. We've been dealing with it for the last 4 years. Everything went up. The cost of groceries, the cost of housing. For instance, in Rockland County, the average mortgage cost went up $1,000 a month. That's over $12,000 a year on an annual basis, okay? And so what we're dealing with is trying to reverse a lot of this. What happened? What caused that? What caused record inflation? $5 trillion in new spending in the first 2 years of the Biden administration is what gave us record inflation. And so when you have record inflation, you have to be able to curtail inflation. So what happened? Interest rates went up, right? And that drove up mortgage costs. You have to be able to reverse that. So you bring down interest rates, you bring down spending. Right now we are 36 trillion in debt. We are spending 7 trillion on an annual basis, with 2 trillion in deficit spending and 1 trillion in interest payments on our debt. At the end of this year, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act is going to expire. And we're getting there.
So if you are not aware of Mike Lawler, he is a Republican from the state of New York who is probably one of the most disingenuous of them all. He pretends that he kind of toes the line, that he's a little bit bipartisan. And I'm a regular Republican, but is still willing to go to bat for Donald Trump, of course, and has taken millions, yes, millions of dollars of Elon Musk's dirty money. So he is fully bought in with this administration, and he is fully ready to go along with their agenda to lock up students for writing op-eds, to cut Medicaid and Social Security, go after the programs that make your life better while making sure their rich friends get an even bigger tax cut. And so, of course, Mike Lawler was going to be booed. And of course, Donald Trump's agenda was going to be the subject of that booing. But it really got under Donald Trump's skin, and he made a crazy post with his idea of what should be done with the people booing him and Mike Lawler. And I'm going to check that out. And I also want us to take a look at the list of rules that were put outside Mike Lawler's town hall. So because Mike Lawler was so afraid of the boos that were obviously going to be coming during his town hall, he put out a list of rules, including one that said if you protested, you were going to get removed. And after witnessing this town hall, Donald Trump wrote, "The radical left Democrats are paying a fortune to have people infiltrate the town halls of Republican congressmen and women and senators. These great patriot politicians should not treat them nicely. Have them immediately ejected from the room. They are disruptors and troublemakers. You must allow your audience to know what you are up against, or else they will think they are Republicans and that there is dissension in the party. There is not. There is only love and unity. Republicans are happy with what is taking place in our country. We all love America." So there are a couple things there. The first of all, Donald Trump, not surprisingly, wants to arrest anyone who uses their voice to speak up against his illegal agenda, which is all about targeting people who oppose them. Whether that be protesters, students, judges, those are the people that Donald Trump wants to lock up. Moving on, the paid protesters bit is just so tired and so sad, considering Elon Musk was literally writing people million-dollar checks in Wisconsin and in Pennsylvania to vote for his candidates of choice. So that's just crazy. And then on the third point, there is dissension within the Republican Party. Republicans are turning on Donald Trump because your agenda is that bad. It's not just Democrats and independents. Republicans in Congress are furious with Donald Trump for his attacks on the First Amendment, for his tariffs, for his overall stupidity, and it's playing out in the polls. Chris Hayes broke it all down right here.
We're not even 100 days in, and Trump is already at the polls are fake stage. But again, they show what they show, even at the granular level, right? When you dive into it and you look through the numbers, you break his approval rating down by issue, things don't get any better for him. I mean, he is underwater on basically everything. Let's start with the economy. That's supposed to be Trump's bread and butter. Traditionally, it's been his biggest strength. That same Fox News poll has 56% of voters approving of Trump's handling of the economy, 38 approve. Underwater by 18 points. And it's not hard to see why. He ran on making things cheaper on day one. That was his promise. But maybe you've noticed things are not cheaper. They are not. Instead, he started a trade war, tanked the stock market, is about to make everything more expensive. A new Reuters Ipsos poll shows disapproval of Trump's handling specifically on the cost of living at 57%. That Fox poll shows him with a 59% disapproval rating on inflation and a 58% disapproval rating on tariffs. A new Pew poll has disapproval of the tariffs at 59%. The data here is real crystal clear, right? Keep in mind, and this is key, stuff hasn't even really started to get more expensive yet. The fallout from the tariffs takes time. There's a delayed reaction before we start seeing shortages and price hikes. Now, if that happens, it's sort of an interesting question about what happens to Trump's numbers. Can they go lower? Can they break through the previous floor? But here's the thing, it is not just the economy, even on immigration, right? Where he likes to pretend the country is just overwhelmingly united on his side. He's slipping. bunch of recent polls show him underwater on issues of immigration, ranging from about a point to as much as 5 points. That was not the case a month or 2 months ago. That Fox News poll provides some interesting insights because when voters were asked about border security, Trump is doing very well. But when they were asked about immigration at large, look at that, his approval was underwater. That, I think, is due to his neglect of due process. The stories of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, the young graduate students here totally legally who've done nothing wrong at colleges, getting abducted off the street and put into prison, or the people deported to a foreign gulag with no trial because they had an autism awareness tattoo, not very popular. Look at this, okay? A new Economist YouGov poll. Half of all Americans say Trump should return Kilmar Abrego Garcia to the U.S. Only 28% say he should not. Even Trump's so-called war on woke, that was a key component of his campaign and a huge part of what they're doing in the government, even that is underwater. Look at this. His attacks on DEI, which are really attacks on civil rights law, are unpopular. He's down 9 points on the issue, according to one poll. Now, instead of changing course, Trump is doing more of what voters say they dislike. In fact, yesterday, he signed an executive order that seeks to just straight up annihilate a key provision of the Civil Rights Act. He's basically ordering the federal government to ignore what's called disparate impact. That's when some institution does something that on paper may look neutral, but in practice ends up discriminating disproportionately against one group or other. It's part of the original Civil Rights Act. It's a bedrock civil rights principle. It's something that Martin Luther King Jr. and the people of that generation marched for, that they died to protect in this country. Trump signs an order wanting to undo it. Now, I will say, to be fair, when he signed the order last night, it sure did seem like he was hearing about it for the first time.
Lastly, sir, we have an executive order on disparate impact theory. This is a theory that underlies a lot of the modern DEI and CRT-driven diversity culture. The basic idea here is instructing your departments and agencies to no longer rely on disparate impact theory as they're regulating, as they're issuing guidance, as they're making rules. We want to focus on results. We want to focus on actual fairness. We want to focus on merit, not things like disparate impact theory and the whole sort of diversity, equity, and inclusion cult.
It's getting out of that, huh?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, he seems to have total command. I don't think this stuff plays well with anyone. Again, I don't want to overstate the case here, right? Like, we're a very polarized country. Trump just won an election that, by all rights, I think it was preposterous he won, but he won. There's enduring popularity among his base. But again, Trump keeps acting like he has a huge mandate. In reality, he is unpopular at basically every turn. Because here's the thing, and this is really key, and we've seen this now a few times, so whatever skills he has at marketing and branding, and they are considerable, one has to say, he does not have the same skills for governing. Turns out people bought the packaging, but once again, we're all reminded the product inside sucks. The only thing keeping him afloat is an agenda of intimidation and fear that enforces a politically toxic kind of discipline among Republicans in Washington. They feel they have to go along with his unpopular agenda. But I think, not guaranteed, I think it's going to catch up to them eventually. Because fundamentally, right, look at those numbers, look at where the country's at. They don't have the American people on their side right now. And I think the data is...
Donald Trump has never been more unpopular. His poll numbers are hitting historic lows, and I think he knows it. That's why he's revived his old idea from the tail end of the campaign about eliminating income taxes entirely. Remember how, towards the end of his last campaign, he was flailing and suddenly promised no more taxes? Well, he's bringing that back now, showing just how desperate he's become. But in his desperation, it's crucial that we stay active and use our voices to hold him accountable, which is exactly what we're doing on this show every day. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button. You can leave a like on this video. And if you stuck around to the end, you can drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.